Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight on Chronication Spirits Week, episode 12, we're going to have a special little bottle tonight, so pour yourself a wee dram of your favorite spirit and let's talk some bourbon. Tonight we are going to be tasting Henry McKenna Single Barrel Bottled in Bond 10-year bourbon. This is a brand produced by the good people at Heaven Hill Distillery. This is the same distillery that produces the Elijah Craig family of bourbons, as well as Evan Williams and Parker's and Old Fitzgerald. This particular bottle is named Henry McKenna, who was a poor Irish immigrant in the 1850s. And story goes, he adopted his family's longtime secret recipe for whiskey for the grains he found in Kentucky. Doesn't really matter if the story is true or not. Most distillery stories are stretched really thin, by the way, in case you didn't know. This really doesn't matter because this is really the story of bourbon in general. Scots-Irish settlers on the American frontier, crossing the Appalachians into Kentucky and Tennessee, adapting long-held family recipes for the grains they have found here, notably corn. So Henry McKenna, Single Barrel, Bottled in Bond, is a mash bill of 75% corn, so lots of nice corn notes, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. It is a bottled in bond, and you might remember what that means. It's bottled by one distillery in one distillery season. It is housed in a federally bonded warehouse. It is bottled at 100 proof, and it is aged for at least 4 years. In the case of this Henry McKenna, it's aged for 10 years. So we can really expect to see some really great flavors come out of this bottle. In fact, last year at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, that's the 2019, McKenna 10-year ran away with the entire bourbon category. He was named Best Bourbon. It was named Best Single Barrel. And ultimately, it won Whiskey of the World. This is the only second time in history that bourbon has been so named. The downside to that has been that has made McKenna difficult to find. Now, today it's becoming a little easier. That was a year ago. New results have come out, and new winners have been announced. So it's a little easier to find the McKenna now. It's still on allocation. It's still scarce, but I know that both Schnucks and another local premium spirits place in Cape has been carrying it for the past few weeks. So it's becoming a little easier to find. So we're going to look at this bourbon tonight in our nifty little Glencairn glass. In the glass, it's got some great copper notes. Some deep ambers. So really looks great in the glass. It's got a really nice, thick, sweet line, sugar line, if you will. Great sticky legs. As far as nose, it's an outstanding aroma. This is a traditional bourbon flavor. You get lots and lots of vanillas and caramels, some toasted seasoned oak. Just got those classic notes that we all really tend to like. So let's take a taste of this. By the way, some of you said something about the faces I make while tasting. This is kind of a modified Kentucky chew, as Fred No used to call it. To really swish it around on your palate, get it along your gum line, get it on your tongue. That way your entire palate is exposed to the flavors. I'm also introducing a little oxygen into that to allow those flavors to begin to open up a little bit. And you really get a little bit better taste if you just really let it hold in your mouth and move it around a little bit before swallowing this delicious bourbon. Well, as the nose indicates, this has a great vanilla flavor, caramel creams right off the top of the palate. It's kind of got a brown sugar note as well, but it's also spicy. So it's sweet and spicy at the same time. This is a very satisfying mouthfeel. It's not too thin like previous bourbons we've tasted this week. It's not overly thick like some of the others we had, like, let's say, that Knob Creek 15 that was 120 proof. Very thick, viscous. This is not quite that level, but it's much thicker, much more. It sticks with you a little bit longer than some of the others we've had this week. Finish. This is a great deep finish. You got notes of oaks, warm leather, some vanilla notes in there. There's also some burn. You got the little mouth tingle. That's 100 proof, guys. That's 50% alcohol. So you're going to expect that, but it doesn't overpower your taste buds. So on a Karl scale, what is this? Well, I'm going to go with 4.75 of a star. It's not quite a 5. I wish it had just a little bit deeper finish. It's still there. It's really good, but it doesn't linger. It disappears pretty quick. I get a nice warm chest feel. My Karl, you found out my secret. The Karl patch came off. I get a nice, good chest feel, but it doesn't linger and stick with you. Those flavors don't stick in the mouth. But guys, this is a great bourbon, and I've always said it's one of the best you can get for its price. Before last year, when it was named Bourbon of the Year, this was a $30 bourbon. You cannot get a 10-year, $30 bottle hardly anywhere. Uh, Today, this goes for around 40 to 45. My wife, who doesn't care for bourbon, often describes this particular one as yummy. That's her words. That's a quote. And last year at a tasting that I held for a fundraiser, she picked this out of a blind lineup. It was absolutely her favorite. And, after all, who am I to argue with my wife's taste, right? Guys, as always, drink responsibly. I hope everyone's safe and happy. And, of course, peace and happy pours.